Hello and welcome. Is Barack Obama black enough? It may sound like a strange question, but the issue of race is still one that divides much of America. While that may surprise some of our viewers around the world, it's one that could affect who ends up in the White House as the next president of the most powerful nation on the planet. Until recently, the idea of having a black president seemed unlikely. With the Illinois senator clinching the Democratic nomination, it now seems possible. In fact, some see Obama as a test of whether or not America can really move beyond the race issue. What does it mean for black people in the USA? Well, a 2007 study showed that more than 4 in 10 African Americans say the way they are portrayed hurts their public image. Well, let's get to an interesting number of responses we got from people we spoke to on the street asking, basically, will having a black president affect race relations in the United States? This is the response we got from a handful of people we spoke to.
I think it's time that we brought many people together who haven't been represented before to give them a voice, and that they've never been heard before, and I think this is an opportunity for all of us.
I think there are people, particularly of Caucasian race, and those who may believe that a black person in America may not be competent. I think with our current candidate, Obama, that he is quite competent, and it will disprove probably a lot of the myths.
I don't think a black president will improve race relations in America. I think Americans will improve race relations in America. I think it's up to us to decide that we're no longer going to judge people because of what they look like, but based on their character and their morality.
This is the world didn't end on December 31st, 1999. The U.S. failed to become a post-racial country on November 4th, 2008 with the election of the first African-American president, Barack Obama. Electing a black man as the president of the United States was no doubt a historic act. Major news outlets like the New York Times declared his victory as proof that the racial barriers here in the United States had disappeared. But then came the breather movements, the gun trotters at the healthcare rallies, and the backlash against the Latino we now call Supreme Court justice. The election of a black man to U.S. presidency in the end did not seem to mark the end of a post-race society. Instead, it ushered in a hyper-race society. Though the election of Obama did reflect a great deal of change in attitudes, the change hasn't lasted. Race is inevitably tied to economics because racial inequality in the U.S. was forged in the economic institution of slavery. Obama's success in winning the election and effectively governing rests on his ability to convince white voters that he puts their interests first and black voters that they will benefit more than whites from his policies. The economic crisis that is currently present during his first year of presidency has done nothing but challenge the effectiveness of his programs, and especially for blacks. In the end, Barack Obama's election will in no way magically eliminate teen pregnancies, drug abuse, or raise the high school completion rates in the black community. Obama's victory does not usher in a post-racial future, but it may help bring a post-racist future in which we can finally start eliminating oppression that rests on hate, fear, and that exploits cultural and political vulnerability. Experts differ over the cause of disparities between majority whites and black Americans, who represent 13% of the population. In general, African Americans earn less, are more likely to be unemployed, and have higher rates of infant mortality. They also are more likely to be arrested and have longer jail sentences than other racial groups. Though a black middle class has been able to flourish in the United States since the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s, who were able to bring an end to a brutal system of racial segregation in the South and thus lead the passing of laws that enabled all African Americans to vote, many middle-class blacks still say that despite professional and financial success, race remains a significant fact of life that is woven into a social and professional interactions in today's society. The election itself does not eliminate those disparities, but it has altered how they are viewed, and that makes a difference. The Obama presidency does not bring in the end of racism in America. Obama isn't a messiah who's coming to magically end discrimination and inequality for all time. But at the same time, Obama's election could alter the way African Americans view themselves. In the end, I don't know that the election changes any social problems right away. But one thing it does change is the state of mind of the society. African Americans have been citizens for generations, but there is a real sense now that all things are possible.
Sure that blackness is being redefined in America as much as it's the fact that the American population now works in an environment that promotes diversity.